it's no Starbucks. So if you can redesign your product, your service to include the experiences that your customers do and then incorporate those into your customer's experience, then this is a really good way to expand your margins and potentially double the sales in your businesses. Most businesses I've done this far double their sales because they've really added a lot more opportunity for the customers to engage with them. Now, these green things, I call these the IFFs: smartify, beautify, greenify. And you can then begin to link your activities together using these services. Smartify, you can actually put sensors on all these activities and offer up screens and things for your customers to engage with you. And that's what the Ubers and Airbnbs in the world do. They smartify their entire product line, all the activities associated with it. Beautify, you can use your branding to involve each one of the activities is a representation of your brand. So you can see how you might want to do this. Jim, if you want to put up the next slide. Look, I'm going through this really quick and broadly. What I wanted to do, I have 2 slides to talk about how to do this from a consulting perspective, one, the client experience, and one, the consulting experience. But before I go through the details of this, just wanted to stop and say, is any questions, any thoughts as to what you're seeing and hearing?
Hey, Mark, this is Mark Fonseca. Just a quick, one thing I like about what you have on the bottom of your slide is the more the user has to do, the less they will buy.
Yep.
So can you cite any examples of clients that have transformed from that statement to now making their product easier to use?
Yeah, I can talk about Alive Spaces. I was working with a company that sells doors, windows, floors, ceilings, and the reality is they were selling products. So they actually had, their silos. The door people never talked to the floor people or the wall people. And when they went to market, they actually had door salesmen and floor salesmen. And so that's the standard practice in America. And so, you can imagine they had like 6 major categories, and they had 6 reps going in and talk to the, a 90-story building's being built, and you got to get your doors, windows, and floors in there. And so you had 6 sales reps going in there trying to sell their products. And none of those products were actually linked together in any kind of style or, decoration or anything like that. Totally independent. And all those things about putting the style together, integrating the floor and walls and doors together in some kind of space weren't there. And then once again, and I call it Alive Spaces, is that a lot of the construction industry was thought of themselves, their product was building a building, and that building lasts for 20 years and the insides don't change that much. So if they build it not to be changed, but with Alive Spaces, you build it to be changed, where the walls are put on with Velcro, our snaps, our magnets, so that the walls can be replaced with new design walls in 30 seconds, or the floors or the ceilings. And so to do that required them to really be more interested in the customer experience of looking into that Alive space and how to manipulate that Alive space. So in Mark, in your business, it's kind of like, not only do you have to worry about what the customer looks like, you might have to help them get dressed in the morning, or you might have to show him how he looks or she looks while they're presenting, while they're actually doing their activities. And so it's no longer just buying the clothes. It's that they become an Alive space. So they themselves are an Alive space. So that's and I'll show later a quick slide that shows how to do that, how to actually keep your silo products, but then add a logistics and marshaling organization, one person to a whole group, that actually deliver the entire new experience. It's fairly easy to do, okay? But Mark, you should, this is just a funny note on, can you do this? So I facilitate a lot of meetings, and I use this, action strips as a way. And so I was presenting to about 70 product managers, and big companies and small companies. And I said, okay, who wants to, okay, we're done. You guys know how to do this now. Who wants to actually do an action strips with us? We'll work with you, and we'll do your entire new business. And a lady raised her hand, and you got to picture this. a lady raised her hand and said, well, I do feminine napkins and we're coming out with a new feminine napkin. Can we do that? You picture facilitating a group for 20 minutes on how to create a new experience around feminine napkins. And that did, and it did. And she contacts me all the time saying it's a breakthrough. It's unbelievable. We brought that into the, not to the limelight, but we brought that into a better experience, if that makes sense. But I mean, it's crazy what you can do is that if you take your product and look at it from a total experience. So any other questions before I jump into the client experience? Thanks, Mark. Yeah, so from a client's experience, you look at this and what they're viewing it, okay, the product is buy consultant time, okay? And before they do that, they got to have a contract. They want to know whose IP, who owns the IP, those are issues for them. And then, I broke the activity strips into start, engage, and ongoing. And, you think they're looking for your expert skills. There's the action strips of assessment. You can, as a consultant, go in there and assessment at the beginning. These are things you're thinking about. And then, the customer's thinking, hey, what change impacts do I have? That's one of their top things that's going to happen. I'm going to get this consultant. Here's my change. And how am I going to manage this change? And, the next one, lead teams. I'll jump all the way over to ongoing. And the last one is with them career. What's in it for me? As a consultant, every time I go into the customer, probably the most important activity that the customer is thinking about is answering his activity of what's in it for me. In other words, is his or her career going to be impacted, and what's going to happen to them? And, as you look at each one of these activities that the client is looking at, and there's more. So in each of your specific expertises, there's a lot more activities that you can put in here and address those in your way of working with them and make it part of your experience, not part of your product. And so these IFIs at the bottom, client risks, every activity you talk to the customer about, the customer's main frame of reference is what risk does this impose on them? Example, lead teams. If I get this expert and that expert doesn't know how to lead teams, then he's caused a bunch of problems in my organization, okay? Manage related activities. This is really important. You're an expert in this one activity. Are you going to help manage other activities in my company? So just a clear look at, take a look at this, in your own life, and we're going to talk about how to add more activity. So let's go to the next one. Let's look at it from the consultant point of view, because they're not the same. They're just not the same.
Yeah.
Can you do the next slide?
Yeah, the slide's up.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. So, and here I'm saying the product is, from our perspective, let's get paid and get benefits. And, on the flip side, the action strip on the far left, my IP and my team, these are mine. So I contractually, that these are my organization and they don't belong to you. We got to work that out before we do business. And let's work out referrals. And that on the right side, when you start, you really got to get the time, the team, the scope, and everything set up. Scope clear, executive support. These are things that we know about, but these are activities that you really have to have clearly in your in your experience. That you have. One of the worst things that ever happened to me is did a great job at a customer, but never talked about referrals or about, my team and stuff like that. And all of a sudden they hire 3 of my employees and they're off and running and don't want to talk to any other customer. And so, okay, how do I get my next 3 customers? And those things are really important to talk at the beginning. And at the far end, at the ongoing, the last activity strip is the last 2, expand and get a job. You got to get the job and keep getting the job. And so how do you do that and make that part of your process? And the more you actually outline these in the whole customer experience, the better you'll be. And let's go to the next slide. So I want to show other examples of, because as many of you know, I don't just do this for corporations. I do this, we talked a little about religious earlier and very spiritual. I believe that not only are corporations stuck in the parts and pieces world, that people are stuck in the parts and pieces world, and that people have a hard time putting together their life. Our school systems are all about learning subjects. Nowhere do we learn to put it together. Our corporations are all about tasks and roles, and where do we ever put that together? So we live in a world where there's very few people helping us put together an experience, nor are there any education we ever had to do that. So I do that with different subjects, and there's hundreds of them, and this is just an example of living health. What you put in your body is really important. So what's the experience? Add only perfect inputs. And so I'm going at fresh water, the right side, a combo way of eating. That's eat timing, and these issues, these activities, fluid timing, when you drink and what you drink, fruits alone, seeds, grow your own food, fasting and clean air, and positive thinking, law of attraction. You can do this. Those are all things you take in. You could take in bad thoughts and everything else, and if you put this together, these are the top activities in my life: what I drink, what I eat, what I breathe. And then here's some of in all those activities, I'm active and I'm slim. In all those activities, I'm positive. And in all those activities, I'm like a car. I got to maintain myself. So, but you'd be surprised at how many people, their activities are, I call it work, watch, sleep. That the average person spends their entire day on work, watch, sleep. So let's go to the next slide, Jim. This is another
slide.
Yep, a gardening experience. If you really want to get control of your health, you can actually grow some of your own food and basic own food. For me personally, we have a garden. I call it the salad garden, and you see the fresh, real food. So, we grow salad, cucumbers, tomatoes, and heck, eat it almost every day for lunch and dinner. And I know it's good because of my health. Many of you know I had a heart attack a year ago, and I can't afford to go out and buy something, even a salad at a restaurant, and they say this is good, and then it's got canola oil, salt, sugar, and everything else in the world in it, and you got real problems. So to grow your own food, this is an example of what you'd have to do to grow your own food, spring, summer, and fall, and what activities. But they're very simple. So if you actually, with the Experidigm, if you share your Experidigms with people, you can actually build these activities together. That's what you're doing in a corporation. So Jim, let's go to the next, and I'll come back and talk about building them together. So I really highly recommend just drawing this on a piece of paper, in that red dot or that little bullet point, put in the experience that you want to have happen at work or at your customer, or the experience you want to have in your life, and surround it with activities. From a business perspective, since we're mainly talking about business perspectives, you saw what IKEA did, you saw what Lego did. A lot of it has to do with visualizing, like Lego was visualizing on the cover of their box, the experience, and then surrounding that with new activities, okay? Because they couldn't just keep the same activities if you're just selling parts. So surrounding now that picture with experts that tell you how to build things, are videos that show you how to do all the activities associated with building very complex Lego designs. So, in the future, if you have any, if you go down this path, give me a call. We'll talk through it. This is a group thing. And Jim, go to the next slide. So this shows a picture. This is from some of my books. Is that this is you as the business owner picturing what that black and white world to the color world transition is. But what you're doing is standing on top of a connected group of people that all have their specific products and their specific expertises, and they're on your team.